Teen girl goes missing at friend's birthday party, father walks into hotel bathroom and discovers.
Hello everyone, enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
That afternoon, Sophia walked into the living room with excitement on her face. Her long, softly curled hair, light pink dress, and just the right shade of red lipstick made her father, Andrew, momentarily startled. The little girl who used to cling to him had grown into a lovely 17-year-old young woman. Dad, I'm going to Marina's birthday party tonight. We're having it at the Silver Pines Hotel. Andrew paused. Silver, what? Silver Pines Hotel, right in downtown New York City. It's a 4-star place, Dad, not some cheap motel. I've never heard of it. Sophia beamed. Marina said her parents booked it for us. There'll be a DJ and a buffet. I'll only be gone a little while. I'll come back early. He sighed. What time are you coming home? Before midnight. I promise. I know you worry, so I'm promising now. After a hesitant nod from Andrew, his daughter cheerfully headed for the door, not forgetting to turn back and kiss his cheek. I love you the most in the world. But now, it was nearly midnight. He checked the time, tapped his fingers on the table, and picked up his phone to call. Ring, ring, no answer. He tried again. Still nothing. A flicker of unease crept into his chest, but he told himself, maybe she left her phone in her bag and didn't hear it. Then the screen lit up. A new message. Sophia, I'm fine. I'll be home soon. Sent at 11:17 p.m. Since then, radio silence. Andrew bit his lip. No. I'm not feeling good about this. He grabbed his coat, shoved his phone into his pocket, took the car keys, and rushed down to the parking garage. The Silver Pines Hotel was located on Lexington Avenue, its entrance adorned with warm golden lights and neatly trimmed ornamental plants. A doorman stood beside the revolving glass door. Andrew walked in, his hurried steps echoing heavily on the marble floor. Good evening, sir. How may I help you? Asked the receptionist, a young man with neat brown hair, smiling politely. I'm Sofia Gonzalez's father. My daughter was invited to a birthday party here tonight. But I haven't been able to reach her for a while. The receptionist glanced at the registry. You mean Miss Marina's birthday party, correct? That was on the 4th floor. Is anyone still up there? No, sir. The party ended around 11:30. All the guests have left. Andrew froze. What? To be exact, the last group left around 11:45. I saw Miss Marina among them. He pulled out his phone and called Marina. 1 ring. 2. She picked up. Hello. Marina. This is Mr. Gonzalez, Sophia's dad. Oh, hello, sir. Have you seen Sophia? I'm at the hotel right now. Marina hesitated. Sophia? Around 11, she said she was stepping out to take a call. We thought she went home. Andrew felt the blood rush to his face. He lowered the phone, eyes scanning the lobby. No way. He ran to the elevator and repeatedly pressed the button for the 4th floor. When the doors opened, a quiet hallway stretched before him. Dim lights cast pale yellow glows on the floor. He walked down the corridor, opening each small door, calling his daughter's name. Sophia. Where are you? Only his own voice echoed back. Banquet room 405 was completely empty. Balloon clusters still floated, used glasses sat unwashed, and a shawl that didn't belong to Sophia lay on the floor. He turned back, knocking on the maintenance room door, but no one answered. Back in the lobby, breath short, face flushed with anxiety, the receptionist noticed and approached him. Is something wrong, sir? My daughter is missing. Just then, a middle-aged man in a black suit stepped forward. Chiseled features, salt and pepper hair slicked back. He extended his hand. Good evening. I'm Brandon, the manager of Silver Pines Hotel. I was told we have a guest who's very concerned. Andrew didn't shake his hand. I need to see the security footage for the fourth floor. My daughter is missing. She might still be in this building. Brandon's brow furrowed slightly, then he smiled courteously. I understand your concern. However, I regret to inform you that the fourth floor's security system is currently under maintenance. Our tech team detected an issue earlier today and disconnected the cameras for inspection. Apologies for the inconvenience. How convenient, Andrew replied, his voice turning cold. The fourth floor hosts the party. And my daughter disappears from there. A young staffer nearby hesitated, stepping forward. I think I saw a girl go into, or maybe I'm mistaken. Brandon turned sharply, his gaze like a blade. George, get back to cleaning the bar. I'll handle this. Andrew stared directly at Brandon. I'm calling the police. You are entirely within your rights, Brandon said, still smiling. I'll cooperate fully if there's an official request. Andrew stepped back, pulled out his phone, his hands trembling whether from cold or fury, and dialed emergency services. As the call connected, he turned to Brandon. If anything happens to my daughter, I swear, I won't forgive anyone who stood in my way tonight. 1:30 a.m. He dialed Sophia's number for the 13th time. Ring. Ring. Still no answer. The lifeless tone of the ringtone echoed through his core like a deepening fear. Don't panic, he whispered. Maybe she's already home and passing through a dead zone. Or her phone died. Or something far worse. Andrew hurried back to his car, slumped into the driver's seat but didn't start the engine. He opened the tracking app, searched for Sophia's phone. A small green dot appeared, still at the Silver Pines Hotel. She's still here, he whispered. Instantly, he jumped out, slammed the car door shut, and rushed back into the lobby. The receptionist looked up, surprised. You're back. I just checked my daughter's phone location. It's still in your hotel. Brandon walked out of the office, holding a paper coffee cup. I'm sorry, what did you say? Sophia's phone is still here. The location hasn't moved. Brandon casually took a sip, then exhaled a puff of steam. She may have left it somewhere. In the banquet room, perhaps? No, Andrew said firmly. I just turned that room upside down. If it were there, I would have seen it. The older man stared at him for a moment, then turned to the receptionist. Fernando, check with housekeeping to see if anyone's found a phone. Yes, sir. Andrew slammed his hand on the counter. I'm not waiting another second. I've called the police. They're on their way. Brandon narrowed his eyes. Then we'll wait and see what they say. About 15 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. A man and a woman. The male officer was Agent Louis Mitchell, in his early 40s, tall, with deep-set eyes and a calm demeanor. His partner, Agent Paula Harris, had a sharp gaze and a firm voice. We received a report about a missing person, Louis said, opening his notebook. Are you Andrew Gonzalez? Yes. That's me. My daughter, Sophia, 17 years old, went missing here tonight. Paula spoke up. Do you have a photo of her? Andrew quickly opened his phone and showed them a recent family picture. Here. This is her. Pink dress, brown hair, white sneakers. She texted me an hour ago. Then nothing. Louis turned to Brandon. You're the manager. Yes, I'm Brandon Anderson, the night manager of Silver Pines Hotel. We need to review the security footage, especially from the 4th floor. Brandon put on a regretful face. We already informed the family. The 4th floor cameras are under maintenance. But I'm happy to help you review the rest of the property. Louis frowned. Maintenance the same night a girl goes missing? It's on the schedule. You can verify it with our tech records if needed. Paula cut in. We'll need to search all public areas, hallways, elevators, lobbies, restrooms. And if possible, employee-only areas. Brandon kept his smile. Of course. I'll show you around. Andrew jumped in. I'm coming too. Louis nodded. As long as you stay calm. The search began. They checked every area: first floor halls, the fourth floor, the kitchen, elevators, emergency exits, even storage rooms. No trace of Sophia. They questioned all staff, receptionists, waiters, technicians. Everyone gave the same response: we didn't see anyone matching that description after 11. A janitor named Camila Lopez hesitated when asked. Did you notice anything unusual tonight? Paula inquired. Camila looked around, then shook her head. No, ma'am. Andrew caught a flicker of worry in her face. Are you sure? He said. Please, my daughter is missing. Even the smallest clue could save her. Camila swallowed hard, then looked him in the eye. I'm not sure, but I heard something. Like a noise, maybe something falling. From the hallway leading to the basement. But I thought someone just dropped something. What basement? Louis asked quickly. Camila pointed. End of the left hallway, there's a stairwell down to the technical floor and the old restrooms. But no one really uses it anymore, it's been replaced by the new wing. Brandon interjected, voice colder than before, that basement area is awaiting maintenance. No reason for any guests to be there. Paula turned to Brandon. We'd still like to check it. They headed down in the direction Camila had indicated. The staircase was narrow, damp, and moldy. The musty smell mixed with the scent of old cleaning chemicals made everyone hold their breath. The basement was dark, lit only by a flickering row of fluorescent lights. Louis switched on his flashlight and pointed it down the corridor. What's down here? Paula asked. Camila, trailing behind, spoke softly, the electrical room, an old storage area, and an old restroom, hardly used because it doesn't get any natural light. Louis walked up and stopped in front of a door marked, basement restroom. The door was locked. Andrew rushed forward and knocked hard. Sophia? It's Dad. Are you in there? No reply. Only a dry echo answered back. He pressed his ear against the door. A pause, then a sound, barely audible, like breathing. Did you hear that? Andrew whipped around, eyes blazing. Someone's in there. It's my daughter. Louis stepped forward and banged on the door. Police. Is anyone inside? Silence. Andrew stepped back. I'm breaking the door down. Brandon immediately protested, you can't. This is a restricted technical area. Louis cut him off. Enough. If we suspect someone is trapped, we're authorized to intervene. He turned to Paula. Get a crowbar from the maintenance room. Paula ran off while Andrew stood there breathing heavily, fists clenched. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the basement being far colder than ground level. Less than 2 minutes later, Paula returned with a crowbar. Louis wedged it into the doorframe and signaled. Let's begin. The restroom door shook with every hard shove. Each metallic creak ripped through the thick silence, filling the hallway with a suffocating tension. Andrew closed his eyes. He whispered without sound. Please, be alive, please, be alive. Bang! The door burst open, its hinges tearing free and hanging askew. Flashlights swept across the dark, moldy space, heavy with the scent of chlorine and decay. Louis pointed the beam into every corner. Sophia? No response. The room was empty. 3 bathroom stalls stood in a row, the middle one slightly ajar. Andrew rushed in, flinging open each stall. No one. He stood in the center of the room, eyes wide, looking around in disbelief. Louis murmured, "We clearly heard breathing." Paula checked each stall thoroughly before standing and shaking her head. No clear signs. No phone, no bag. Brandon stepped in from behind, raising an eyebrow. "As I mentioned, this area hasn't been used in a long time. Maybe the sound was wind, or a rat in the vent system." Andrew snapped, "You're saying a rat breathes like a human?" Brandon remained calm. "I'm merely suggesting a possibility." Louis stepped closer to him. "Mr. Brandon, I need a list of all employees authorized to access this basement area. Including maintenance, security, and housekeeping." "Of course. I'll have my assistant send it to you within 10 minutes. And the maintenance records for the 4th floor cameras. We need exact timestamps of when the system was disconnected." "Yes. While I don't oversee the technical team directly, I'll try to provide the necessary information." Andrew stood beside Paula, eyes locked on Brandon. "He knows where my daughter is." "I'm sure of it." Paula whispered, "We're suspicious too, Mr. Gonzalez. But we need evidence." They returned to the lobby. Louis and Paula sat at the reception desk and began recording statements. Brandon sat across from them, legs crossed, still holding his coffee cup. Behind him, a female employee, Stella Roberts, the night secretary, timidly approached Paula with a folder. "This is the personnel list of those authorized for technical access." Paula flipped through the pages. 3 for the basement. Head of maintenance, Daniel Owens. A technician, James Rivera. And, night shift manager, Brandon Anderson. She glanced up at him. "That's you." Brandon nodded. "Yes. By protocol, I hold a master key." Louis interjected. "I want to see that key ring. Now." Without hesitation, Brandon pulled a large set of keys from his inner jacket pocket and placed them on the table. "Here. Each one has a unique code etched in. You can verify." Louis picked them up, inspecting each. They were indeed numbered, but nothing indicated which key opened which door. "Nothing unusual," Louis said. "But we'll keep the key ring for comparison later." Andrew paced behind them, fists clenched, eyes never leaving Brandon. Suddenly, Stella spoke up, hesitantly, "Excuse me, but, may I say something?" Paula turned to her. "Go ahead." Stella glanced nervously at Brandon. Immediately, he turned his head, eyes razor sharp. "Stella, what is it?" The young woman shrank, her voice barely audible. "Nothing. I just wanted to ask, if anyone needed more coffee." Paula tilted her head. "Are you sure?" Stella nodded quickly. "Yes." Louis exhaled. "We need to sweep the 4th floor again. Including vacant guest rooms." Brandon sighed. "I'll have to call the daytime general manager for approval. Searching all guest rooms requires higher management consent." Paula emphasized, "A 17-year-old girl may be in danger. If you delay, you're aiding obstruction." "You misunderstand." "I'm just following procedure," Brandon replied. "I don't want any guests filing unreasonable complaints." Andrew couldn't hold it in anymore. He slammed his hand on the counter. "My daughter was abducted in your hotel and you're worried about procedure. If I don't find her tonight, I'll make sure this whole hotel pays the price." Louis stood. "Calm down, Mr. Gonzalez. Let us do our job." 2:10 a.m. Paula returned to the 4th floor hallway, this time accompanied by a hotel staff member named Ivan Torres, the internal supervisor. Ivan was tall and lean, his hair slightly messy, and he seemed more alert than the others. "I started my shift at 9, he said. "When I arrived, I overheard something, that the fourth floor camera had a glitch the day before. Tech team hadn't fixed it yet. Do you know who last checked that area? Paula asked. Ivan shook his head. Probably James Rivera, the on-call technician. Do you have his contact? Ivan nodded and pulled out his phone. Here. But he's likely asleep at this hour. Paula dialed immediately. The phone rang, but no one answered. After the third ring, it went to voicemail. No answer, Paula muttered. Ivan looked around, then spoke quietly. Do you believe Brandon? Not yet. But I feel like, he's hiding something. Maybe, Ivan whispered. Word is, 3 months ago, something weird happened here. A cleaning lady suddenly quit with no explanation. Who? Lucy Mendoza. Worked morning shifts. She vanished after taking 2 weeks sick leave. Never came back. Didn't collect her last paycheck. Didn't sign resignation papers. Paula took notes. Full name, last known address, anything you can recall, send it all to me. Will do. Meanwhile, Andrew sat in the waiting area, head bowed, hands trembling as he gripped his phone. On the screen was his wallpaper, a photo of father and daughter taken in Central Park last spring. Sophia had her arms around his neck, smiling brightly, her hair fluttering in the breeze. Sweetheart, where are you? Footsteps made him look up. Louis had returned, expression unchanged. Still no clear sign. But we did find something strange. What is it? We checked the third-floor hallway camera. At 11:21 p.m., it captured a small figure, a girl in a dress, hurrying from the elevator to the emergency stairwell. Heading toward the technical level. Andrew shot to his feet. That's her. That's Sophia. Louis nodded slightly. Not confirmed. But the time matches the message you received. And after that, there's no sign of that person on any other camera. Paula also returned. Louis. I found signs of forced entry on the back service door leading from the technical level to the rear parking lot. Andrew went pale. You mean, she might have been taken outside? We can't rule it out. Louis clasped his hands. As of now, this is no longer just a missing persons case. It's a suspected abduction within hotel premises. We're calling in the Criminal Investigations Unit. Paula nodded. And I want Mr. Brandon brought in for formal questioning. At the station. A second round. 3 a.m. Andrew switched on the flashlight on his phone, pulled his coat tightly around him, and began descending the stairway to the second basement, what the staff referred to as the old technical level, seldom used and even missing from the hotel's internal maps. A narrow hallway, lined with gray tiles, stretched far into darkness. The first door on the left opened into an old storage room, broken chairs, rusted trash bins, the smell of mold was overpowering. He covered his nose and quickly searched the dark corners. Nothing. The second door, central air system room. Flickering lights, large dormant cooling units and copper piping lined the walls. A sound, very faint. Something fell. Andrew froze. Sophia, he whispered, stepping in slowly. Are you here? No response. But he searched anyway. Behind the air ducts, behind dust-covered boxes. Nothing but shadows and cold. Stepping out of the room, he bent down, eyes scanning the floor for footprints, scratch marks, anything unusual. Each hallway felt endless, but he never stopped. At 3:18 a.m., a cleaning staff member passed through the first floor, Laura Martinez, around 40 years old, originally from El Paso, temporarily assigned to the night shift due to staffing shortages. Seeing Andrew rush down the hallway with a panicked expression, she called out. You're the father of the missing girl, right? Andrew turned around. Yes. Do you know something? No, but I heard others say you're searching the hotel. I used to work in the basement area when I first started. There's an old restroom back there, behind the main laundry storage. Not many people know about it because the entrance has been blocked by a metal cabinet for years. Andrew froze. Behind the laundry storage? Yes. End of the second basement hallway. There's a big metal cabinet blocking it, but there's a narrow passage behind. If someone knew about it. He didn't need to hear more. Andrew dashed off. Thank you. What's your name? Laura. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. He sprinted through the basement hallway, flashlight aimed toward the far end. There it was, a large metal cabinet pressed against the wall. Beside it was a rusted linen cart. He threw his shoulder into the cabinet. Once. Twice. It wobbled, then tilted slightly, revealing a narrow gap, a doorframe, metal, the gray paint peeling off. His hands trembling, he reached for the handle. Locked. Damn it. Next to the door was a tilted wooden frame, old, but sturdy. Andrew picked it up and slammed it into the lock. A harsh crack echoed. The door popped open. A narrow, dark corridor. No lights. Only the beam from his flashlight. The air was thick, like no one had been through there for months. The left wall was exposed brick, the right, covered in flaking paint. Andrew moved slowly, calling out, "Sophia, can you hear me? Are you in here?" No answer. Then, he stopped. A small door on the right. No signage. But the handle was worn, someone had used it before. He knocked gently. No response. Knocked harder. Inside, a sound, like breathing. A faint, interrupted breath, as if someone was stifling a cough. "Sophia." He pounded on the door. "Are you in there?" "It's Dad." The breathing stopped. Then a faint noise, something sliding across the floor. "No doubt now." "Sweetheart. Don't be scared. I'm here." He stepped back, took a breath, and kicked hard. The door didn't budge. He looked around against the wall, a broom with a metal handle. He grabbed it and slammed it into the doorknob. Once, twice, 3 times, snap. The knob broke off. The door creaked open. Andrew shone the flashlight inside. The room was barely 3 square meters. The air reeked of mildew, urine, and old fabric. In the far left corner, a curled-up figure. Sophia. Her whole body was shaking, legs pulled to her chest, hands tied with a scarf to a metal pipe beneath the sink. A dirty rag stuffed in her mouth, eyes tightly shut but tears streaming down. Andrew dropped to his knees. "Sweetheart. Daddy's here. I'm here now." His hands trembling, he removed the rag from her mouth and untied her hands. Sophia burst into tears, coughing violently, then clung tightly to him. "Daddy. Daddy. I'm here, honey. You're safe now." Without delay, Andrew called the police. Lewis's voice came through, urgent. "Did you find anything?" "I found her. Technical basement. A hidden room behind the laundry." "Is she okay?" "She's alive. Shaken. Trembling. Call an ambulance." "I'm sending the location." Lewis answered immediately, "Stay put. We're on our way." About 5 minutes later, 2 medics and a criminal investigation team rushed into the basement area. Paula knelt beside Sophia, checking her pulse. "She's conscious, signs of dehydration and mild exhaustion. No open wounds, but internal injuries need checking. Get her to the ambulance now." Sophia was placed on a stretcher and covered with a blanket. As they passed, she held her father's hand and whispered, "Brandon, angry at me, because I took pictures." Andrew froze. "What did you say?" Sophia struggled to breathe, then repeated, "Saw him, touching, a female staff member. I, secretly took a photo." Andrew shook. Everything began to click into place. Lewis turned to Paula, "Get the digital forensics team. Check the girl's phone now. If what she says is true, we've got evidence." Andrew stood nearby, fists clenched, eyes burning. He locked her up, to silence her. Paula nodded silently. But her eyes burned with growing fury. The ambulance siren cut through the quiet night. An emergency vehicle pulled up near the secondary basement entrance of the Silver Pines Hotel. Medics rushed the stretcher to the opening, where Andrew stood trembling, eyes red, arms still wrapped around his daughter. Sophia was no longer tied, the rag gone from her mouth, but she still shook violently, unable to speak. Bruises dotted her wrists, hair matted from sweat and tears, and her terrified eyes made anyone who saw her clench their fists in rage. "My daughter, she's still alive, but someone locked her down here, treated her like an animal." Lewis steadied Andrew's shoulder and nodded, his voice grave, "We'll get to the bottom of this. I promise." Paula led the way, helping the medics place Sophia on the stretcher. The girl clutched her father's hand tightly, whispering through sobs, "Daddy, don't leave me." "No, never. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." A young nurse, Isabel Cuevas, gently reassured them, "The doctor will take care of her immediately, sir, don't worry. We'll start with 4 fluids and basic scans before sedation to check for trauma." Andrew nodded, eyes still locked on his daughter. As the ambulance pulled away, Lewis and Paula returned to the room where Sophia had been held. They summoned the forensics team to the scene. 2 young officers, Ryan and Haley, were tasked with collecting evidence. Paula swept her flashlight around the room. A small, enclosed space. Locked from the outside. Someone meant to trap her. This wasn't an accident. Lewis knelt to examine scratch marks on the tiled floor. Shoe prints, small. Scratch marks on the wall near the sink. She tried to get out. Haley pointed to a silk scarf, "This one's high-end. Not standard hotel issue. Could belong to the perpetrator." Paula photographed it and bagged the item. Evidence bag. She glanced at the bruising on the pipe Sophia had been tied to. Looks like she was restrained for hours. Bruising, but thankfully no fractures. Lewis stared at the marks. How long did she suffer in here? At least a few hours. And in this sealed room, no light, no ventilation, it's horrific. Andrew stepped in, his face hardened but his gaze firm. "I want to know everything. Who has keys? Who can access this place? And why this room even exists in the hotel?" Lewis nodded. "You'll be the first to know once we confirm." Around 4 a.m., in the hotel's maintenance office, technician James Rivera had just been brought in. His face was pale, hair a mess, his shirt still reeking of alcohol. Paula questioned him immediately, "You're in charge of the 4th floor camera system, correct?" Yes, but I did report the main circuit was damaged. I only followed orders from Mr. Brandon." Lewis narrowed his eyes. "What orders?" "He told me to temporarily disable the 4th floor cameras to avoid leaks of private footage, some rich kid's birthday party. I didn't think anything of it." Paula's voice turned cold. "Were you aware someone went missing that night?" James went pale. I just handled the tech stuff. I didn't know." Lewis slammed the table. "Whether you realized it or not, you're part of this." James gasped, nearly pleading, "I'm just a tech. I didn't know about the girl." Paula cut in, "What do you know about the room behind the laundry?" "That room. I'd heard it used to be a secondary storage, before renovations. No one uses it anymore, always kept locked, only the main manager has a key." Lewis stared him down. "You mean, only Brandon?" James nodded. I've never had a key to that room. I swear. At that moment, the digital forensics team had finished checking Sophia's phone. A forensic analyst named Clara Morales brought the device to Louis. We found this in the photo album. Taken at 10:47 p.m. She turned on the screen. A blurry photo appeared, but it clearly showed the fourth-floor hallway under dim lighting. In the center was an image of a man, Brandon, leaning in close to a female staff member, his hand placed on her buttocks, while the woman was visibly recoiling in fear. Paula held her breath. Secretly taken. Louis nodded. The girls saw it happen, and got caught. Clara added, it's not just one photo. There are 3 in sequence. In one of them, Brandon is turning his head, likely the moment he noticed Sophia holding the phone. Louis clenched his jaw. The motive is clear. Paula immediately called the hotel manager, Mr. Gerald Reyes, who only worked during the day. Mr. Gerald, this is Inspector Paula Harris. I'm handling the case involving employee Brandon Anderson. His voice sounded confused. What's going on? There is evidence he unlawfully detained a 17-year-old girl in the hotel's basement. We need his personnel file and access logs immediately. Gerald was stunned. Oh my God. I'll send them within 10 minutes. But I had no idea that room even existed. Paula's voice went cold. Then perhaps it's time you asked yourself who you've been letting run your hotel for the past 4 years. At the hospital, Sophia was receiving 4 fluids and a sedative. Andrew sat at her bedside, holding her hand, watching the heart rate monitor as if it were the most precious thing in his life. Marina arrived around 5 a.m., looking exhausted. The moment she stepped into the room, she burst into tears. Sophia. Oh my God. I didn't know. I thought you'd gone home already. Andrew stood, positioning himself between them. But Sophia gently shook her head. Dad, let her in. Marina hugged her tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sophia whispered, her breath shallow. I saw him, touching the female staff, so I took pictures. I was going to report it after the party, but he saw me. Andrew sat down, eyes red. You don't have to say anything else. I believe you. Everything is clear now. Louis returned to the hospital with Paula just before 6 a.m. They carried an envelope, an emergency arrest warrant for Brandon Anderson on charges of unlawful detention, assault of a minor, obstruction of justice, and sexual harassment. Louis gave Andrew a nod. Justice is starting to be served. The sun had risen. At New York Presbyterian, in the third-floor room where Sophia lay, the first light of dawn filtered through the window, casting faint lattice shadows onto the cold floor. Andrew still sat by his daughter's bed, his head in his hands, eyes swollen from staying up all night. The door opened. Louis and Paula entered with a young woman in a white lab coat, Dr. Elena Garcia, a clinical psychologist. Mr. Andrew, Louis said softly. We'd like to ask your permission for the doctor to speak with Sophia privately for a few minutes. Andrew nodded and squeezed his daughter's hand gently. I'll be right outside the door. If you feel uncomfortable, just call me. Sophia gave a faint nod, her eyes tired but showing a hint of life again. Out in the hallway, Andrew paced back and forth, eyes fixed on the glass panel of the door. Louis pulled out a file. We've received preliminary results from the forensics team. The bindings, shoe prints, and DNA samples in the room all match Sophia. The scarf used to tie her was high-end Italian silk, the same brand Brandon ordered for the VIP suites. Paula added, more importantly, we found a trace of blood on the inside doorknob, not Sophia's. We're matching the DNA now, but it's likely the perpetrators. Andrew's fists clenched. He has to pay. I don't want anything else. Louis nodded. We won't let you down. Inside the room, Dr. Elena spoke to Sophia in a soft, soothing voice. You don't have to tell me everything if you're not ready. Just share whatever you remember. Sophia blinked slowly, staring at the ceiling. After a while, she began to speak, her voice hoarse. I saw him. Brandon, push a staff woman into a hallway corner, his hand was on her. She tried to get away. I took a picture. What time was this? Around 10:30. The party was packed. Everyone was drinking, dancing. Nobody was paying attention. What happened next? I was going to leave, send the pictures to the police. But he followed me. All the way to the side hallway, the one by the stairs to the basement. What did he say? Just, told me I shouldn't get involved in adult matters. Sophia shuddered, tears welling in her eyes. Then the lights went out. Someone pulled me hard from behind. There was this cloth smell, then darkness. Elena gently squeezed her hand. It's okay. You're very brave. Do you remember who covered your mouth? No. But his hand, it was big and cold. Louis noted down every word. Paula left and went straight to the hospital's admin wing, where the digital forensics team was analyzing public surveillance footage around the hotel from the previous night. Clara Morales, digital forensic specialist, turned to her. Inspector Paula, I found a clip from a public camera near the hotel's back parking lot. Paula stepped closer, squinting at the screen. At 11:27 p.m., a tall shadowy figure was dragging something along a narrow path behind the hotel, then disappeared into the maintenance area. Could it be Sophia? Most likely. But the camera angle is partially blocked. The person's face can't be identified. The timing matches Sophia's disappearance. Brandon's apartment was on the 6th floor of a high-end condo not far from the hotel. At 7:20 a.m., Louis, Paula, Carmen, Andrew, and 2 other officers arrived. The door was opened with a spare key provided by the building manager. Inside, clean, tidy, unnervingly so. Louis rummaged through the bedroom drawers. Paula headed straight for the bookshelf. Carmen checked the kitchen and living room. Andrew stood before a photo on the cabinet, Brandon standing beside a young woman likely an ex-wife with the words, "Family First," inscribed beneath. Louis opened a small wooden drawer beside the bed and found a red notebook, no label, no markings. He flipped it open and froze. Paula. You need to see this. Inside, each page listed a name, staff members, dates, job positions. Under each name were handwritten notes. Silent. Needs monitoring. Potential risk. Don't place near VIP guests. Too sensitive, remove. Some pages had a red X. Paula looked at Andrew. He turned pale, speechless. Louis exclaimed, "It's a blacklist." He kept track of everyone he harassed, and who might expose him. Andrew stepped back, leaning against the wall. And my daughter, was the last name on that list. 8:15 a.m. NYPD Central Precinct. Brandon Anderson sat in the interrogation room, one wrist loosely cuffed to the metal chair. He still wore the same black suit from the previous night, tie loosened, hair slightly disheveled. But his demeanor showed no fear, on the contrary, he looked straight at the ceiling camera like he was performing a well-rehearsed role. Louis Mitchell and Paula Harris entered. Paula placed a thick file on the table, saying nothing for a few seconds. Brandon remained still, offering a faint smirk. You both look sleep-deprived. Louis sat across from him. And you seem far too composed for someone just arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and unlawfully detaining a minor. Brandon shrugged. I'm just cooperating with the authorities. Like I told the officers earlier, I know nothing about that. The girl is clearly confused. Paula scoffed. Confused? She opened the folder and laid out 3 printed photos on the table. First image, you pressing a female employee against the 4th floor hallway wall. Second, your hand on her hip as she tries to pull away. Third, you turning your head toward the camera. Sofia Gonzalez captured these at 10:47 p.m. right before she was abducted. Brandon looked at the photos in silence for a moment. Then he laughed. So this is your evidence? A teenager playing hero, sneaking photos of people, then making up stories. You're really going to destroy my career over a few blurry shots? Lewis replied curtly, not just the photos. He pulled out another evidence bag, the silk scarf used to bind Sofia's wrists. This scarf isn't part of the hotel inventory. But it matches the VIP collection you personally signed off on. The fabric is an exact match. Brandon blinked, furrowing his brow slightly. I'm not the only one with access to those. Someone could have stolen them. Paula interjected, what about the basement room? The one locked from the outside, for which only you had the key. Brandon shook his head. I've made several recommendations to management to seal off the old technical wing. If someone used it without authorization, that's beyond my control. Lewis laughed, but there was no amusement in his eyes. And what about your notebook? The one listing employee names, people you marked as dangerous, to be removed. It includes Lucy Mendoza, the one who mysteriously disappeared 4 months ago, and, lastly, Sofia Gonzalez. Brandon fell silent for a few seconds. His eyes flickered. Personal notes. Nothing illegal. Paula lowered her voice, delivering each word like a blade. Personal notes don't lock someone in a hidden room, gag them with cloth, and tie them up for hours. Brandon raised an eyebrow, then smiled calmly. You really think a rebellious teenage girl, playing detective, wandering the hotel and taking secret photos of adults, is innocent? I say she's just seeking attention. Lewis slammed the table. Enough. Brandon didn't flinch. He sat up straight, eyes locked on Lewis. You can interrogate me. Try to frame me. But don't forget I've served over 20 years in the hospitality industry, with a spotless record. I know how to protect my reputation. Paula stood, her gaze sharp as steel. And this time, you won't be able to hide the truth. 9 a.m. Andrew sat in the hospital corridor, holding a cup of hot coffee he hadn't touched. His eyes were fixed on the end of the hallway, where Sofia was undergoing another round of full examinations. Marina sat beside him, clutching her friend's backpack. Sir, if I had spoken up sooner, if I had paid more attention. Andrew didn't turn his head. It's not your fault, Marina. But I invited her to the party. The blame lies with the person who did this. No one else. The examination room door opened. Paula walked straight over to him. Mr. Andrew. We just finished the initial interrogation. What did he say? Denied everything. Claimed Sofia made it all up to get attention. He even threatened to countersue for defamation of character. Andrew jumped to his feet. He dares. Paula nodded. He's playing the reversal card. Calm. Calculating. Marina was stunned. Won't he be arrested? He's still in temporary custody. But to press charges, we need more witness testimony, more evidence showing clear intent. Andrew looked Paula straight in the eyes, voice firm. Is there any way, to get others he's harmed to come forward? Paula gave a slight nod. We're trying to locate Lucy Mendoza, a former employee Brandon had flagged in his notebook. But she disappeared. No one's been able to reach her. Lewis approached from another hallway, holding his phone. I just got a call. A former housekeeping staff member, Natalia Ramirez, who used to work night shifts at Silver Pines Hotel, contacted the station. She's willing to testify. Says Brandon harassed her. Andrew turned to him. Where is she now? She went back to her hometown 3 months ago. But after seeing Sofia's story on the news this morning, she found the courage to speak out. Paula looked at Lewis, then at Andrew. If we get at least 2 independent witnesses, we can take this to the DA's office today. Andrew nodded. I'll do whatever it takes. As long as he never hurts anyone again. 9:45 a.m. News of the incident began to spread across television broadcasts. Manager of Silver Pines Hotel under investigation for allegedly detaining and assaulting a 17-year-old girl. The victim is currently being treated at a local hospital. Police declined to provide further details but confirmed there are serious indications of misconduct within the hotel. In the hospital room, Sophia watched the TV screen, her eyes red and watery. Andrew sat beside her, gently squeezing her hand. You were brave. And you're saving others now. She said nothing. But tears fell silently. Meanwhile, in the temporary holding cell, Brandon leaned against the wall, his expression dark. Outside, Louis and Paula stood behind a one-way mirror, watching him through the glass. Louis murmured, "He knows, he's losing." Paula nodded. Louis turned to her. "We have to move fast. Before he finds a legal loophole." Paula gave a dry smile. "We have witnesses. Photos. Physical evidence. And most importantly, a father who won't back down." Louis looked at the camera. "And a girl who had the courage to speak the truth." 10 a.m. The New York Herald newsroom had just published a headline. Single father rescues daughter from predator manager at luxury hotel. The article quickly went viral across social media. In just 15 minutes, it had been shared over 12,000 times. Below the post, hundreds of comments poured in. "Hope that monster rots in prison. I've stayed at that hotel. Never imagined this. Respect to the dad. That's what a real father looks like. Investigate further, there may be more victims." At the police station, Paula rushed into the command office, a red folder in hand. "Lucy Mendoza has resurfaced," she exclaimed. Louis looked up from his desk. "What? She's in Santa Monica. Just withdrew cash from an ATM after 4 months missing. The bank reported a match on her name and ID. We've made contact." Louis stood up abruptly. "What did she say?" "Not much yet. But she agreed to a meeting. She said, she finally has the courage." Louis nodded. "Let's go. We're getting in the car." At a small cafe in Santa Monica, Lucy Mendoza sat curled up in her coat, hands wrapped around a cup of hot chocolate. Her face was gaunt, but her eyes lit up when Paula and Louis arrived. "Ms. Mendoza," Paula began gently, "I'm Inspector Harris. This is my colleague, Louis Mitchell." Lucy nodded slightly. "I know. I read the news, about Sophia. She survived, but she'll need long-term psychological treatment." Lucy bit her lip. "I know what that feels like." She looked up. "I was also locked up by Brandon in that same room. The exact same place. Every detail matches: the scarf, the lights off, the stench of that basement restroom." Louis took quick notes. "Why didn't you report it to the police back then?" I was ashamed. Terrified. And he threatened to leak private photos I had sent to my boyfriend if I said anything." Paula gently squeezed her shoulder. "Can you testify now?" Lucy took a deep breath. "I will. For that girl. For myself. And for all the other women he's hurt." At the district attorney's office in New York City, an emergency meeting was held at 2 p.m. the same day. Representatives from the DA's office, criminal investigators, and the Internal Affairs Department of the hospitality sector were all present. Louis stood before a projector screen, presenting physical evidence, photos of the harassment, Brandon's fingerprints in the holding room, silk scarf matching the custom VIP order, the notebook listing threats. In addition, testimonies from 2 independent victims, Sofia Gonzalez and Lucy Mendoza. The prosecutor asked, Do you have evidence Brandon personally detained her? No camera footage, but the timeline matches. Only he had access to the locked location. The physical evidence and statements corroborate each other. The district attorney nodded. That's more than enough to prosecute. Lewis looked at Paula. She smiled and gave a subtle nod. The next day, news flooded every front page. Brandon Anderson officially charged with criminal offenses. More victims begin to come forward. Hotel management system faces large-scale investigation. TV footage showed Andrew leading Sophia out of the hospital, hand in hand. The two said nothing, but their eyes burned with strength. In Brandon's holding cell, his lawyer Dominic Vega entered, his face full of calculation. "Brandon, we've got a problem." He looked up. "I know. Sophia survived." Dominic set down a file. "It's not just that. Lucy Mendoza has come forward. Her statement matches Sophia's exactly restraints, room, timeline. And worst of all, your notebook is a social death sentence." Brandon clenched his jaw. "I deleted all the private photos from my phone." "Doesn't matter. They don't need the photos. They have witnesses and the public. And with that much, it's going to be very hard for you to walk." Brandon leaned back, chuckled dryly. "They want a scapegoat. And I fit the part." Dominic spoke softly, "Prepare for a sentence of at least 10 years. That night, at home, Sophia sat in front of her laptop, typing the opening lines of a blog post. "I'm Sophia. I stayed silent because I was afraid. But silence saves no one. When you see something wrong, trust your instincts. And if you have the courage to speak up, you might save someone else." Andrew walked in from the kitchen carrying 2 mugs of hot cocoa. "What are you writing, sweetheart?" Sophia smiled faintly. "Just something I've learned. I want to tell it, so no one else has to stay quiet like I once did." He sat down beside her, eyes misting over. "You make me proud." She looked up. "I survived, because of you." "No," he said, his voice low but firm. "You survived because you were brave." The two clinked their mugs of cocoa together under the warm yellow light, while outside the window, New York City still held a chill in the air. The next morning, Sophia's blog post, "Silence Saves No One," went viral across platforms. Her school invited her to be the speaker for a special seminar titled, "Protect Yourself, Speak Up When Something's Wrong." The auditorium was packed. Friends, teachers, even Marina were in attendance. Sophia stepped onto the stage, still slightly shy, but her voice was steady. "There will be times when you ask yourself, should I speak up? The answer is yes. Not because you're the strongest person, but because your silence might allow something terrible to continue." She looked down and saw her father in the front row. He nodded slowly, eyes brimming with tears. At the same time, Brandon's trial had begun. The courtroom was packed. Never before had a case drawn such attention. Journalists, child advocacy groups, and many members of the public who had followed the case online were present. The room fell into an eerie silence as Brandon was escorted in, his wrists cuffed, wearing a pale gray coat, hair combed neatly, but the arrogance gone from his eyes. Presiding over the trial was Judge Anna Davis. In her 50s, her face was stern, renowned for her zero-tolerance stance on crimes involving minors. "We begin," her voice rang out, unwavering. "Defendant Brandon Anderson, you are charged with the following crimes: unlawful detention, assault of a minor, abuse of position with serious consequences, sexual harassment of multiple subordinates. Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Brandon stood, cleared his throat. "I deny all charges. I am the victim of an emotionally driven witch hunt based on personal motives. I was simply doing my job." His lawyer, Dominic Vega, also stood. "Your Honor, we intend to prove that all accusations are based on emotions, not concrete evidence of unlawful detention. Judge Anna Davis nodded. Very well. Let the evidence and testimony speak. The first to take the stand was Sophia. She stepped forward, eyes firm though her hands trembled slightly. Andrew watched from below, heart aching but full of pride. You're the victim from the night of December 17th at Silver Pines Hotel? Yes. Can you tell us what happened? Sophia clasped her hands. I saw Mr. Brandon forcing himself on a female staff member. I took photos. He chased me. I ran down a side hallway. Someone pulled me from behind, gagged me with cloth. When I woke up, I was tied up in a dark basement room. Are you certain it was Mr. Brandon? I didn't see the face when I was grabbed. But later, he came into the room. He looked at me and said, hopefully next time you'll know to keep your mouth shut. A murmur spread through the crowd. A woman clutched her chest. A man cursed under his breath. The judge banged her gavel. Order. Next witness, Lucy Mendoza. Her face still gaunt, but her gaze unwavering. 4 months ago, he summoned me to the maintenance room after my shift. He said he wanted to discuss work. But when I got there, he pushed me into a small room and locked the door. I was held there for nearly 4 hours. No one heard me. He later let me out, and threatened to leak personal photos I had sent my boyfriend if I told anyone. Dominic tried to counter. Do you have proof of that threat? Lucy stared straight at him. I signed the time sheet. I have messages. And I have a ruined life as proof. When it was Lewis's turn, he presented the physical evidence. The scarf bearing Brandon's fingerprints. The notebook with victim names and notes like remove or high risk. Shoe prints matching Brandon's pair from the night of the incident. Lewis spoke firmly, if this isn't calculated detention and long-term targeting, then I don't know what qualifies as a crime. Vega could only respond weakly, my client has a good work record, no criminal history, a respectable family. Judge Anna Davis responded with an icy tone. Then he should have been the first to understand professional ethics. After a 2-hour deliberation, the verdict was delivered. Brandon Anderson is sentenced to 17 years in prison for unlawful detention, sexual harassment, and abuse of power. In addition, he is barred from engaging in any professional activity involving minors or hotel staff for the next 25 years. Sophia exhaled, tears filling her eyes. Andrew placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Marina embraced her from behind. Lewis and Paula left the courtroom without saying a word. 1 month later. Sunlight filled Andrew's small apartment. Sophia was revising her new blog post for publication on a digital platform. Marina helped with grammar. Andrew was in the kitchen, cooking their favorite spaghetti. Her phone buzzed with a message from school. Congratulations, Sophia. Your speech has been selected as internal educational material for next year's Safe School program. She looked at the screen and smiled, then turned to her dad. Dad. Yes, sweetheart. I think. I want to study law someday. Like Ms. Paula. Andrew froze, then nodded, his voice thick. I believe you'll be great at it. Thank you, for never stopping. For believing in me even when the world didn't. Outside, New York City was still in the midst of a seasonal shift, but inside that small apartment, hearts were finally warm again. Silence is never the answer in the face of evil. Sophia's story shows the power of courage and belief in oneself, in the truth, and in the love of those who stand with you. An ordinary father who never gave up achieved something extraordinary. Justice does not come easily, but it will, if we persist. Most importantly, always listen to and protect the voices of the vulnerable, because one voice at the right moment can save an entire life.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.